Hey YouTube, welcome back to another video. I want to talk today about a concept that I have brought up before in a video. I had a video about this concept. I'm going to talk about it again because I've been thinking about it a lot and how it impacts the way that I think about my sound and perhaps the way that it could impact the way that you think about your sound as well. And that is James Markey's tone triangle. Just to make sure we can see this. We've got 3 points to the triangle. We've got core, and these are not in any specific order. I want to make that very clear. I just happen to write them down this way. We've got core at the top. We've got warmth. We've got brilliance. Let's talk about them real quick. Core, it's kind of the sound that's in the very middle, right? This is the pitch center. This is what lets the tuner know you are playing an A, and it's in tune, or it's not in tune. This is what lets the people around you know, oh, that's a solid pitch center. I can tune to that. That's a good thing. I like that. The sound will carry if it has core, right? We got warmth over here. That's kind of the sound that you feel. That's the the kind of beauty in the sound, maybe. That's a way you want to put it. Warmth is a very good way to put it. It's kind of hard to find a lot of other words to describe warmth. But yeah, one of the aspects of sound that's good. Brilliance, that's all the higher overtones, right? We usually hear kind of like the fundamental as kind of core / warmth-ish, and then we have all the overtones above that. If you have more of them, you have more brilliance. It sounds brighter to the ear, but again, if you have all three of these things, it might not really sound brighter, it just might sound more colorful and better. So, what does this tone triangle mean? Well, I was thinking about it because I'm constantly listening to other players, both recorded and real life, and I kind of think about how they place themselves in this triangle. I want to be clear that not everybody is in this triangle, including me all the time, I'm sure. I think there's a lot of like younger players, especially, and we'll talk about this in a moment, that are like over here, outside this triangle. And they're really just going for this warmth thing because they think that sounds dark. And it kind of doesn't. If you only have one of these things on the triangle, you're not inside the triangle. If you only have warmth and you just have this kind of floof sound, there's no pitch center, there's obviously no higher overtones, and it might sound very appealing, like especially behind the bell, but it's really hard to play with. Like the attacks are very kind of like blah, blah. That's too much warmth, right? I have heard players with too much core, where it's just pitch center, and it's kind of very small in a way, and just like very dense, and actually is also very hard to play with. Core is a good thing. It's on the triangle for a reason, but if you orient yourself entirely towards core, getting that pitch center only, the sound actually is not pretty. It doesn't have like attractive qualities. It feels good behind the bell, again, like the warmth thing, to have like a ton of core and just be like very solid. But there's other things we want in our sound too. And then of course, I don't know if there's a lot of people that are aiming for just brilliance that are over here outside the triangle, but there are bright players out there that are just like, wow, this is the kind of sound that when is played loud makes you cover your ears. You're just like, it just sounds like yelling or shouting, because those don't have core and warmth. So, like I said, I want to try and be inside the triangle, and we don't want to be like on the other side of this paper, which is something for my wife's grad school application that she did for a different school that she didn't go to. We don't want to be on the other side of the piece of paper where like the middle schoolers live, where they don't have any of these things, and they're just kind of hoping for the best. That's okay. It takes time to work your way into the triangle. This is where we want to be as more advanced players. And now you can see there's a lot of room inside this triangle. You don't have to be right there exactly in the middle. You can be oriented in a lot of different ways. Some examples I was thinking of are Randy Haas and Stefan Schultz. And I would put them like way over here, kind of oriented towards warmth a little bit, plenty of core, but like way over here, away from the brilliance corner. Those players can play with brilliance. It's there. But that's not what they're aiming for. They're really aiming for way over here. It's very dark, rich sound that doesn't necessarily have a lot of the higher overtones because they're not aiming for that. Someone like Jim Markey, the guy who came up with this, is much more towards the middle, but I would orient him a little bit away from the warmth side of things. He can have a very warm sound, but the brilliance is really one of his magic strengths. I don't know how he does it, but he can just turn the brilliance knob up, and he can just go, all right, more brilliance, and then turn it back off. That's one of the coolest things that he does. If you hear him in person, he can just add brilliance at the flip of a switch. I wish I knew how he did that. But he is very cool because he is able to move around this a little bit. Those are just some examples. I'm sure you can think of maybe players around you who aim a little too far in like one of the directions. Maybe yourself does. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up is that it's easy to be like, oh, I just want to be right in the middle. And that's how I sound. I sound great. Look, I have all three things. I'm perfect. The problem is the sound behind the bell and the sound in front of the bell and the sound that other people hear are very different things. So it's really easy, like I said, for a lot of like younger bass trombone players to just kind of like be out here because this warmth just by itself behind the bell feels like you're doing something good. It feels like you're playing dark. You're playing like Randy Haas. And they're missing all that core and brilliance that someone like Randy Haas plays with and puts him solidly within the triangle. He just sounds amazing. He doesn't only have warmth. And you don't know that unless you hear a bunch of players live and you record yourself and hopefully play in like some different situations. If you only play in like a really nice recital hall, you can be like, wow, I sound amazing. Listen to me reflect around this recital hall. Yeah, of course. Almost anyone is going to sound good in there. That's the point of a recital hall. If you play in a really dead practice space like I have here, or you play outside a lot, you can kind of figure out, oh, I'm actually missing this and this and this, and work yourself back into the triangle. So just think about this triangle in your daily playing, and every once in a while, maybe pick a note. You're like playing an etude, and you're like, that's C in the staff. Does that land within the triangle? Or is that just kind of like, meh, like, you know, it's got like some core and there's like a little bit of warmth, but it's just kind of a dead note. There's no brilliance to it. Or, ooh, wow, it's really bright and it's got some pitch center, but it doesn't sound pretty. It doesn't sound good. Just every once in a while, think about it. You don't have to have this just like on your brain constantly. But it's a good way to just kind of be like, oh, I need to kind of dial my sound away from this and towards this, and boom. And of course, there's lots of tools to work on these things. I like to play pretty etudes to work on warmth. I like to do, there's a lot of things you can do, but I think lip slurs are a good way to find that middle to the sound, the pitch center, the core, and keep it in all registers. And for brilliance, you just got to be able to like play loud, but then also be able to bring that loud sound to the lower dynamics, the brilliance, the spark, the color to the sound. That is not always there if you just kind of play dully and maybe you're outside of the triangle on this side. So there we go. Just a little talk about the Markey tone triangle. I've just been randomly thinking about it lately and I thought it might help some new people because I haven't talked about it for like 4 years. That's all I got for now. Bye-bye.